Raul Morales. Is that under public comments as well?
General comments, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'd like to reconvene the City Council meeting. Will the City Attorney please give us a report on closed session?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was no reportable action.
Thank you. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Hannah, and then remain standing for the invocation by Pastor Michelle Ehrenberg. Thank you.
Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Michelle.
Thank you for inviting me tonight. What an honor and a blessing it is. I have been praying for you, individually, by name, and I have been praying for you as well, and for this evening. And so would you join me now as we invoke the presence of the Lord? Gracious God, our rock, our deliverer, loving God, our fortress, our protector and provider, thank you. Thank you, Lord, that we can look to you for wisdom, for discernment, for patience and strength, and you are never far. You will never leave us nor forsake us. Lord, I thank you that we live in a country where we are free to believe, free to worship, and free to speak. Thank you, Lord, for those who have sacrificed and fought for these freedoms. I thank you for a city that still dares to proclaim the words, "In God we trust." What an honor and a privilege it is to be a part of something so wonderful. Lord, we invite you tonight to lead and guide, to temper and try, to cause words that are said and thoughts implied to be spoken with graciousness and received with grace for the good of this city, this community, these people, and to bring you honor. Would you be with Mayor Newton, with each council member, with city staff, and with Norco citizens gathered here? Thank you for the strength and wisdom gathered in this room tonight. Thank you that this chamber is filled with caring individuals, and I thank you for integrity and good insight. May this meeting be a time that draws people and ideas together, that builds community, and continues to make this city a great place to live in, to play in, and to work in. And now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we can ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us, to him be the glory. God bless the United States of America, and God bless Horsetown, USA. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Michelle. We'll now have a introduction. Lieutenant. Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. Recently, there has been a change of supervisors at the Norco Sheriff's Office. So tonight I'd like to introduce these two new sergeants to City Council and to our residents. Gents, can you come on up? Sergeant Bill Davis has over 28 years with the Sheriff's Department. He's worked numerous patrol assignments, which included the Rupa Valley Station, Paris, and Moreno Valley stations. He was a Department K-9 handler for over 10 years and was most recently assigned to the Rupa Valley Station Traffic Division, responsible for traffic reconstruction. Our second sergeant, Sergeant Josh Parker, is an 18-year veteran of the Sheriff's Department. He's been assigned to patrol our Professional Standards Bureau and our Special Investigations Bureau, where he was a member of the Marijuana Eradication Team. Most recently, he was assigned to our Hoopa Valley Station Watch 3 patrol. Both sergeants were selected to work the Norco assignment based upon their strong work ethic, skill set, and willingness to serve. I look forward to working with them as part of our Norco Sheriff's Office team, a team that works hard to serve the residents of the city of Norco with continued pride and professionalism. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello, good evening, City Council and City Manager. I am excited to be in the city of Norco, and I look forward to serving the residents of Norco. Like Lieutenant said, I have over 28 years of law enforcement experience I'm bringing to the table, and my specialty is traffic enforcement, so don't be surprised if you see me roaming around your cities giving out citations. So, thank you.
Nobody speeds. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm also happy to be here. I know I was a longtime detective, so I enjoy doing more complex investigations. So hopefully I can guide our deputies in doing those type of things. So just happy to be here and happy to serve Norco.
Thank you so much. One thing you're going to find out is you have our support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, we have some recognitions, some business appreciation. So what I'd like to do is ask council to join me down at the podium. And Mr. Z from the school district. And we're going to start with Kara Lubin with the 100 Mile Club. Young lady, would you join us up here? Right here.
Come on, you're not shy.
I think I'm a little bit right now.
You're a hero. You're a rock star. So, on behalf, thank you. On behalf of the city of Norco, City Council, and the residents of Norco, to you for developing a highly successful 100 Mile Club, a program that has been adopted by nearly 1,000 schools across all 50 states, in addition to 4 countries, and is known for providing students with life lessons in goal setting, determination, and team spirit, as well as the opportunity to lead an active lifestyle. You're not done. Okay.
Hi, sweetie. How are you? I'm John Zickafoose from the Corona Norco School Board, and in appreciation also from the district, and as you all know, we have many schools here in Norco. And I'm just going to throw out a couple numbers here. We have actually 50 schools in the district, 26, 27, 28 of them participate. The goal of the 100 Mile Club is for a student to achieve 100 miles in the course of a school year. Well, most of us don't do that if you think about it, so it's a pretty big accomplishment. And we have 10,239 students, this is last school year, that achieved 25 miles and almost 50 or more. And she's always or more. Or more. And this is or more as well. And half of those achieved 5,234 achieved at least 100 miles or more. And you'd be amazed at how many of them go to 200, 250 miles. So it really is an incredible thing that Kara has started. And she started this as a school teacher.
Yes.
And she, second or third grade, I forget. Fourth, oh, fifth, and third.
Fourth, fifth, and sixth.
All right. Had some active students. And so she decided, I got to get them out moving, and realized, hey, when they got back to the classroom, they were better equipped to learn, which is what we all want as community members and council members. We want our kids in there learning in the classroom. And she figured out that this works and has developed it, and that was in 92. I'll get some of these numbers right someday. So yeah, it's a long time ago, yeah. But anyway, she's just amazing and has done a ton. And I will tell you, she's actually saved the school district money because the state requires a certain number achieved by every student of physical activity. And because of the 100-mile club, and obviously we have a pretty high percentage here, we're just off the chart. So we don't even have to worry about that. But there are a lot of, unfortunately, districts who are having to pay a lot of money. So we are grateful to you.
100 miles.
That's right, yeah. So thank you, my dear. Thank you so much.
And any of the other council members, please?
They gave me something to read.
This is exciting.
That's exciting. So they wanted me to read this, and then I have just a couple words to say about this lady who has been dogging me for years. The 100-Mile Club challenges students to walk, jog, or run 100 miles at school in a single school year. It teaches students to get moving every day, set goals, and create team spirit. Founded by Kara Lubin, think about it, during the 1992-93 school year at Washington Elementary, the 100-Mile Club has since been adopted by schools across the country. And how many countries? 10. See, you don't get anything right today.
No, you're doing it.
Whereby students, see, she's good, are embracing exercise in the pursuit of positive goals. Where my biggest contact with Kara is Monday nights. And I will get calls from like Tanzania saying, the lights aren't on.
I called him from Maine.
I mean, wherever.
Text messages, the lights
So I
aren't
go up, but what's really cool about the 100-Mile Club is it's not just kids doing it. It's mom, dad, brothers, grandma, grandpa, and there's this little trek we go up to Pumpkin Rock. And so I get to tell the history of Pumpkin Rock like 50 times a year. But it's a lot of fun, and it's really amazing. Whole families turn out. So congratulations, you deserve this, and this is a Norco High graduate, which is the key to her success.
Yeah.
Right? Right?
It's very true. Thank you. 1986.
Oh, actually 2005. I'm 1999. Ted is 1985. Robin graduated last year.
You know what, the one thing, and I don't go up for walking, but I see the kids on Monday, because I'm up at the park all the time. But what you have done is not only see them coming up on Monday nights, but we see them up there all the time, taking the trek up to Pumpkin Rock. Now, continually, these kids are always doing it, so thank you very much. We appreciate getting in. As a person that has walked, and I walk a lot, I'm glad the kids are out there, at least exercising. So thank you for doing a good job.
I love it.
Oh, I just want to say thank you. I remember when you started this just a few years ago here at the building up on the hill up there. We had to work there. But thank you and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So, as a parent of children that have participated in 100-Mile Club, I would also like to say thank you. Several trips to Pumpkin Rock and then going to events after school so they could get extra sticks to get closer to the 100 miles is very important. And now to a high school cross-country runner, so thank you very much.
Oh, yay. Well, Mayor and City Council members and Mr. Z and everyone here, I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to come here today. And I want to thank Miss Norva for, she's such a champion, she's so great. Currently, the 100-Mile Club is actually serving 4,100 schools in all 50 states and 10 countries. And our office is right up on Beacon Hill. The start of the 100-Mile Club came out of Norco, and I'm going to tell you why. There's a very romantic story out there, which is sort of true, about how I had hyperactive kids and I wanted to calm them down and it was very great and, you know, whatever. At the time, I was a 22-year-old second-year teacher, and I grew up in Norco. I've been here since I was 11. I've been riding horses since I was 8. What I know is that kids and horses are exactly alike. They know when you love them. They know when you don't. They know when you care. They can smell fear. But if you give them love and structure, they'll do anything for you. I also know that if you lunge a horse a little bit before you try to teach him something new, it's a little easier. So, that paired with my love of Olympics and the idea to earn an Olympic gold medal, the idea came to me that I am going to lunge the children. Truth. It was before any research on the brain and the body. It was before any research had come out about how kids need to exercise in the mornings before school. It came out of Norco. So if I didn't grow up here, this would never have happened. And for me to grow up in a town like this, that has welcomed us into this city and allowing our kids to run on Monday nights and earn miles. Kids come from all over Southern California to run here on Monday nights. And thank you. I mean, where in what other town can you call up a city council member and go, you got to get up there and turn the lights on, you got 200 families up there. And I'm in Maine, right? And he does. So thank you to this incredible city council for supporting these kids and their families and their goals. So my gratitude is immense. If you ever want to experience pure joy, come run with these kids. It is amazing. So thank you for allowing the 100 Mile Club to be here, for allowing me to do what I love in my hometown. It is a very special place, and I am forever grateful to be here. So thank you. Thank you all. All right, one more.
We have to get in front of the.
Oh.
We all.
Get in front so I can see Greg.
Everyone's quiet now.
Thank you so much.
Well, we're in the picture of a dog.
I'll just stay down here.
Oh, no bother.
So more of my style is, after I run 100 miles with Kara, I'd like Scott DeRosa to come up here for a business appreciation honoree Cowgirl Cafe.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Scott DeRosa. I'm the Vice Chair for the EDAC Council here at City of Norco. And a joint venture that the council has been working on over the last year, along with EDAC, is putting the spotlight on different businesses that have a great contribution to our community with special events, contributing to the economics, etc. So this month and tonight, we're here to go ahead and celebrate Cowgirl Cafe. They've been a wonderful landmark here, been here forever and a day, and besides having great food and great service and so forth, we're super excited to go ahead and have them be appreciated this month as our Business Appreciation Award recipient. So if Karen and Gary Hendrickson can come up, please. Good evening. Come over here. Please behind the podium for a moment, so nobody up front. We'd like to present you with this award, and I'll go ahead and read what it says. The City of Norco hereby honors Cowgirl Cafe for serving Norconians and their nonprofit organizations, promoting a classic Horstown USA ambience, and for contributing to the local economy and community events. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate having you here.
Thank you.
appreciate the town of Norco and the community members. You support us. We try and support different activities in the city. And that's what we feel is about. We try and do our shopping local and everything. So just thank you very much for supporting us.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you at the Rock.
Yeah. Doing about 900 kids.
Okay, a couple more presentations. Next, this is going to be the Norco Horse A-Fair event. Fran and Lisa, are you going to speak, or just Fran? Good evening.
Okay, I just
You
moved
can
over.
turn, yes,
Okay,
please, sorry.
I don't want to break it right off the bat here. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. My name is Fran Klogstad. I'm the owner of Thrifty Horse, which is located over on 6th Street. It's a little late in the evening and I can't see real well. And I wrote everything down because my brain is so full of stuff that I can't remember everything, so please forgive me. Anyway, we moved the store to Norco 9 years ago, just from down the street in Corona, and it's done nothing but blossomed, and we're very thankful for that. Tonight I'd like to present to you the Norco Horse Affair, where horsemen meet. My passion, my personal passion, started with horses 50 years ago. Like many little girls, my first horse was a Breyer. I was granted the ultimate gift of a horse at the age of 8, and horses have since then shaped my life's passions. My husband asked me for my hand in marriage. I own 3 horses and let him know we were a package deal. For the last, well, actually for over 35 years, our lives have been shaped by our equine partners. We've been competitors, horsemanship school instructors, rough stock owners, boarding stable owner. We own the Thrifty Horse Consignment Shop, and now we're promoters of the Norco Horse Affair. My journey has been a natural evolution of my passion and my desire to share knowledge and to educate. I hope you join me and my team as we will be celebrating everything equine. I draw from a lifetime of experience to bring you an equine exhibition that I know you'll be talking about for years. We will be featuring the Norco Animal Shelter Adoption, BLM Horse Adoption. We're going to have a kiddie corral, which will be a place that the kids can come and unwind and learn about horses. We will have a book nook with many local authors. Mary Rose Anderson, a young trainer here in town, is putting on an All-American Horse Challenge, which is a 3-day competition for professionals, amateurs, and youth. There will be a Norco's Ladies Night Rodeo, which I believe she raises funds for cancer research. The Golden West Championship Model Horse Show will be taking place during our Norco Horse Affair, which I'm personally excited about. If you've never been to one, it's kind of a kick. You have to experience it. We will have a breed pavilion with a daily parade of breeds, and that's being sponsored by the Horse Trader, which I'm excited that they're involved. We will have live entertainment from music groups such as recording artist Christopher Thomas, the Texas House Party Band, the Darden Sisters, the Sugar Daddies Barbershop Quartet, and our local band, the Raining Horseshoes. Sunday morning at 8:30, we will be having Cowboy Church with Pastor Phil Wozniak, who's the new pastor over at the Grace Church. We're excited to have him. He's closing down his entire church that day and bringing everybody up to the fair, and that's where he's holding church. We have shopping, we have food, we have beer through the Norco Lions Club. We have contacted all the horse-related businesses on 6th Street and have full support from each of them. Additionally, we have asked them to bring attention to their stores with balloons, banners, sale racks, whatever it takes to make 6th Street festive. Each of the 2 arenas will be busy all day with clinics and presentations and demonstrations. We've invited local trainers such as Pippa Aris, Susie Peacock, Jerry Lundy, Cheryl Lindy, Jolene King. We have Matt Sheridan, Stacy Turner, Backcountry Horseman, Jeannie DeBruce. The idea is to use the local trainers, so when you go and you see Jeannie DeBruce show this miniature horse and you want to get involved, you can find somebody right here in town to learn how to work with miniature horses. The finale will be on Sunday. It's called Fiesta Sunday. Our own 21-year-old Aurora Del Villar, who works with me at the store, has put together a tremendous schedule to teach us about the Latino traditions. We will see side saddle ladies. We'll have the Rose Parade famous broken horn ropers. We will have something called the Pass of Death, but I promise it's not as bad as it sounds. And we have a local vocal artist, Felipe Orozco Jr. And there's much, much more that she's got planned. Other groups that we're including from the area is our Troop 33 Boy Scouts, our Norco FFA and alumni, the ROTC, Lions Club, Saddle Sore Riders. Mr. Hoffman's going to help us out a little bit. Norco Horseman Association, the Norco Mounted Posse, the Ramsey Ranch Pony Club. We've got pony rides coming from Tom's Farms, and Disney's involved also this time. My hope is that through the Norco Horse Affair, we will educate and intrigue you to further your relationships with your horses. We wholeheartedly invite you to join us this first weekend in October, October 6th, 7th, and 8th. If you'd like more information, we have a beautiful website that Lisa has helped us create, full of information. You can contact me personally at the store or on my cell phone, which I will happily give you. Any questions?
Any questions?
All right, this is our first ever, so we really, really hope you all will attend. We'd love to have you up there. It's really coming together. It's scary coming together. So now all we need is people to show up.
You're going to do good. Thank you, Fran. And I'd also like to mention staff, Patty, and all the work that you're putting into this to make it successful also.
Absolutely, yes.
We all know how hard you work.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we're now going to have a presentation by the Western Riverside Council of Governments, my friend Rick Bishop and Chris Gray. Good evening, Rick.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council and staff and members of the audience. I'm Rick Bishop. I'm the Executive Director of the Western Riverside Council. I don't know if we can continue the role of having applause after every presentation or not, but we'll do our best. We'll leave that to you.
You can hold back.
I'm sure you might. Anyways, I want to thank you all for your participation in WRCOG first and foremost. We are a better agency because of Norco and all of our participating agencies. And I think you all know that we strive very hard in the programs that we offer to help our local jurisdictions in the region achieve cost efficiencies in how they conduct business. And we're better because we have a committee structure that is comprised of city and county staff. So our goal is that every recommendation that we take to our executive committee, and we thank Mayor Pro Tem for being your designee to our executive committee, but our goal has always been that every recommendation that gets there has been vetted by your staff, by your public works directors, your planning directors, your city manager, your finance director, so on and so forth, and we think that that contributes to our success. I'm here today to talk about something that may be new to some of you, may not be. It's something called community choice aggregation. It is, let's see. So I'll just kind of provide, I'm going to provide a very high-level overview, and and then you'll see that we have a ways to go in talking more about this as we move along. But community choice aggregation is something that has been enabled by state law in California, specifically a bill AB 117, which allows local governments to provide electricity to customers as an alternative to the current energy provider in Southern California, that's Southern California Edison. And before I go further, I just want to make mention of the fact that we, WRCOG, have a fantastic partnership with Southern California Edison. And I'm not just saying that because they have a representative here in the audience. We have a long history of working well with them to find ways to achieve economies of scale. And I'm very fortunate to actually serve on Edison's government advisory panel. And we talk about this issue from time to time. And one thing that I think is important from Edison is they made a statement that stuck with me last week, and that is that they understand that their customers are your constituents, and they want to work very closely with us to make sure that if and as CCA moves forward, that we have collectively the customers, the consumers' best interest in mind. But what a CCA basically is right now, Southern California Edison, which is your utility, they go out and they purchase energy. They also then transmit that energy through their lines to the customer and then provide the billing to the customer. What a CCA does is it basically replaces that first box. The first box is the energy purchase. So instead of Edison purchasing the energy, a local energy authority that is comprised and composed of locally elected officials makes those energy purchases. And this is something that is not new in California, but is something that is also being pursued by many jurisdictions and subregions. So why are jurisdictions participating in CCAs? Why are others interested in it? It's really for a number of reasons, including but not limited to what you see on the screen. The basic idea is that a CCA provides customers with choices, which is something that customers right now do not have. It also provides for lower rates and even a greener mix of energy, and the energy supplied to local customers if that's something they desire. And if also desired by the local board that determines the mix of energy that is being provided. Most importantly, we think it creates local control over programs, and so by having a local board, it can be more flexible and nimble to issues as they arise, specifically in rate setting. So for example, if a local governing board of a CCA determines that they want to augment or increase reductions in rates for local businesses or a type of business or for low-income residents, it can do so very, very quickly. We think that that's a major advantage. And then lastly, something like this can create favorable economic development opportunities, certainly by offering energy at reduced rates. And overall, if you're able to save local customers, consumers, businesses, and residents a few bucks over the course of time, that translates to millions of dollars of savings that can be plunged into the region otherwise. There are a number of jurisdictions throughout the state that have implemented CCAs and are interested in pursuing the development of CCAs. This map just provides a snapshot of that. And you can see most of the urban counties in California are doing this. 8 CCAs are actually operational in California. There are 6 that are scheduled to launch in 2017 and 2018, notably in LA County that is on the way. And then you can see there are 13, including Western Riverside County, and then our partner Council of Governments in the east, the Coachella Valley Association of Governments are in the stages of exploration of CCA. So the bottom line that we get asked is, do CCAs save money? The answer from experience is yes, that they do. The most mature operating CCAs in the state, both up in Marin and Sonoma County, have reported that their residents have saved $6 million in utility costs in 2014 alone. City of San Rafael, smaller, has reported also savings in their first year. The Sonoma County Power was actually net positive in 60 days, and after 18 months they had actually built up a reserve of $36 million, which then their board can determine what to do in regards to business enhancement and energy savings to them. For WRCOG, we have performed a feasibility study. I'll talk about that a little bit more. And our feasibility study, which uses very conservative estimates, indicates that if all of our subregions, member jurisdictions, all 18 were to join in a Western Riverside County CCA, the savings could be up to approximately $30 million a year to the consumer. So just imagine what $30 million can do, being plunged back into the economy by local residents. I mentioned the feasibility study about a year or so ago. As we became interested in CCA and wanted to perform a feasibility study, we then partnered with the Coachella Valley Association of Governments and also the San Bernardino Council of Governments, formerly known as the San Bernardino Association of Governments, to perform a feasibility study that looked at potential CCA at a number of geographies. One massive CCA that would be encompass both counties combined, as well as smaller CCAs that would be at the county level, and then even smaller CCAs that would just be pertaining to the alignment, the geographic alignment that you see there. One in San Bernardino, one in Western Riverside County, one in Seaville. The study examined what you might think. It was very thorough. Again, I mentioned it was very conservative in the estimates and the assumptions that it makes. And it took a look at the profiles of the region, the number of accounts, the load analysis, what the savings would be. It dipped into talking about governance structures, operational structures and staff support, so on and so forth. So what did it find? The bottom line was taking a look at a savings for both counties combined. It found that if a CCA in the two counties combined were to offer residents and businesses a 33% renewable mix, and that is compared to the current renewable mix that is offered by Edison of about 28%. The reason we use the 33 is because state law requires California to be able to meet that standard by the year 2020. And so we're just sort of jumping ahead of that, saying, well, let's just jump right into that and provide it now. We found that there would be about a 4.9% savings on the utility bill for consumers. So basically the idea there is that a consumer that's paying $100 a month, if they could switch over to a CCA, would be paying $95 a month or so. At smaller levels of geography, so a CCA that is just pertaining to CVAG or just pertaining to WRCOG and just pertaining to the San Bernardino COG, you see the savings are a little bit less, and it doesn't really have as much to do with the energy purchase as it does to do with the governance structure. So obviously if you have a larger sized CCA, you're reducing the need for executive directors and administrative staff. You can kind of put them all into one bucket. We also took a look at what the savings would be under a proposed CCA at a 50% energy mix, renewable mix, excuse me. That's a requirement from state law that California achieved by 2030. So again, trying to get ahead of the curve and see what we can do. And then we found in talking with Marin and Sonoma counties and some of the northern counties that a lot of their residents and businesses actually prefer 100% mix, and they're willing to pay for it. And so they offer it. And so we decided to do an analysis of that as well. So you can see that using very conservative numbers with regards to participation rates and other things, we thought that this feasibility study provided us with enough information to go to our executive committee and continue to move forward. I want to talk specifically about how it will work, again trying to stay at a real high level. And the focus here is on the left-hand side there, that is in the red box. That's the source from the CCA, and this would be the local governments banding together through a joint powers authority to purchase the energy. So the way a CCA works is a little bit peculiar. Pursuant to state law, a CCA is what we call an opt-out program. So for example, if the city of Norco or Norco and a number of cities were to band together and say, we're going to form a local energy authority to be the purchaser of energy, it goes through the paces to do that. And then once that is accomplished, all of the customer base within those jurisdictions, they automatically become part of the CCA unless they make a decision to opt out and stay with the local utility. That's of interest, but there's also stipulations and requirements that the CCA or the potential CCA notify consumers at least 2 times prior to CCA launch saying, this is what's going on, here's the projected energy savings, gives you an opportunity if you want to opt out, you can. And then that obviously can occur, and then of course consumers can opt out at any time thereafter. I mentioned that because it's important. We found that in talking with Sonoma and Marin counties, two what we should think are the most mature CCAs in the state, their opt-out rates are very, very low. They've been, what we've heard is around 5 to 10%. Our study assumed a 25% opt-out rate. So again, we're being very conservative with how this is going to work. The other way it's going to work really is that the only difference that the consumer is going to see is on their utility bill. And so we provided a couple examples from CCAs that are up and running. This one is for the city of Lancaster, which has its own CCA. And basically the only net change that a consumer is going to see is the same energy provided to them. They're going to be getting the same distribution lines are being used to transmit that energy. And the only thing that's going to be different is that in their bill, you can see in the bottom there, they're going to see their charges broken down. The first charge would be, in this case, $79. Those are the distribution costs for the utility. And then the second one would be the actual cost of the energy. And so that's one way it's done. Here's another billing statement from one of the CCAs up north, which I think is a little bit cleaner. You can see there the middle yellow line, it actually explains it a little bit better. It says the current PG&E electric delivery charges and then the Sonoma Clean Power electric generation charges. So you can see a little bit of breakdown. But that's about the only difference that you're going to see. Edison will continue to provide the bills, and there's really no net change to the consumer, except for reduced rates. So another thing about how it's going to work, that the CCAs and the local utilities, they do work together in this, because I think the goal is that for everybody is to have the consumer's interest in mind. In fact, every year, a CCA and the utility that is operating in that CCA will jointly prepare a comparison of the CCA cost for energy and the utilities cost for energy, and they mail that to each of the consumers. And so it provides the consumer with a snapshot of, here are the costs for the both. And then they can make an informed decision as to whether they want to opt back into the utility or opt out of the utility into the CCA. So we think that that's a really valuable resource for customers, is being able to provide that comparison. So with that in mind, at a high level, what have we been working on over the course of the last year and a half or so? We've completed our feasibility study, which we moved ahead on. We formed an ad hoc committee of elected officials to kind of guide us. And what we found that governance became a big issue. And our elected officials on the ad hoc committee, then subsequently endorsed by our executive committee, which is comprised of elected officials from all of our participating member agencies, they determined that probably the best way to govern this would be through a standalone agency, a separate joint powers authority, not WRCOG, but something that's separate. The reason for that is we really don't have any idea how many jurisdictions or who will ultimately join the CCA. They could be in Western Riverside County, they could be in Western Riverside County and beyond, depending. So there's really no limit to who would join a CCA, depending on the overall goals of the founding members of the CCA themselves. So the CCA would be the decision-making body. Our ad hoc committee and executive committee also like the idea of, at least initially for WRCOG, to provide the staff support services to it. We found that that would achieve great economies of scale because we're already working on this. We have staff that is pretty intimate with the details of CCA development, and we think that doing that rather than starting a CCA from scratch and hiring new staff is a better way to go. So we developed some draft template agreements, a draft JPA and a draft work arrangement that accomplishes that, but they're both intentionally vague because we recognize that ultimately the decisions about how a CCA should work should be left to the governing board itself. And so the idea is that here's a template CCA, JPA, and the CCA board members will decide how to fill in the details. The working relationship or a management services contract would be with WRCOG, and the CCA, as it matures, could decide whether they want to continue that arrangement or they want to drop out and then hire their own staff. It's totally up to them. We've hired a local marketing firm called the Creative Bar, located here in Western Riverside County. They have great name recognition, and so one of the most important parts of this is figure out what name, how you want to do branding, and how you want to do marketing and outreach. And so that's a critical piece of this. Also, just last week, our executive committee directed us to hire some contractors that are well-versed in CCA development, given their experience, to assist with developing the mechanics of CCA implementation. And then finally, we're starting to have these kickoff meetings with broader audiences. And I know that the Mayor Pro Tem has heard these presentations probably more times than he cares to. Okay, more times than you care to hear, but it's our duty to then also meet with you all and bring you up to speed. So tonight's just kind of a kickoff for that. We're doing this with all the jurisdictions, and we really would be happy and actually hope that we would be able to find opportunities to meet with you individually and staff, and quite frankly, members of the community as well, to educate on that. So just a real quick timeline. This is kind of where we are. This is our working draft timeline, subject to change based on how we go. And this is really condensed. There's a whole lot of stuff that you could fill in between these numbers, but we're moving judiciously and very carefully as we move ahead of this. But in an optimal situation, we could possibly have a CCA, depending on founding members, in place about a year from now. And so that's something that we're aiming for. It's something we're excited about. But ultimately, it's your decision as a local council if you have sufficient information and you're interested in doing this. So, Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you for that time. There's some contacts up here. I also want to introduce Tyler Masters. He's one of our program managers who can provide some details. And Chris Gray will be giving a presentation on Tom Stowe Routing Force here tonight. And we appreciate the opportunity to be here for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Council, have any general questions at this point? We will have the opportunities
Plenty of
to meet in the future and
absolutely. Yeah, we look
discuss
forward to it.
pros and cons and all of that.
Absolutely.
Great. Absolutely, Rob.
Good evening. Real quick, kind of sounds too good to be true, potentially, so what's the hook? Or what's the catch? If you had to say something or a con or Why does it sound too good to be true?
Well, that was a question we asked when we first started hearing about this, and so we paid particular attention in looking into this more, and to the point of even going up and visiting existing CCAs and asking the very question. When we hired our consultant to prepare the feasibility study, we also asked the question. One of the most difficult things, to be honest with you, about CCAs is that the audiences that we speak to are mostly groups that have implemented CCAs or are looking into it. There's kind of a pro-CCA crowd. And one of the hindrances to a CCA for us has been that Southern California Edison and the other utilities in the state are actually precluded from state law from commenting too much on CCA development. So while some see that as a benefit, I see it as a real hindrance because nobody knows the energy market better than Edison, and we could probably get some real valuable information. But we keep prying and prodding and try to trick them into telling us stuff that they might not otherwise want to tell us. And again, that's part of the good relationship we have with them. The downside is, despite all the information we provided and despite all the diligence we've done, there's no guarantees in anything. And so what's really important for us is to make sure that the team, when it gets assembled, stays on track and is really, really carefully monitoring the markets and being very nimble and flexible with regard to how they provide energy. And then also making sure that a governing board, whoever comprises that governing board, is aware of every move that a CCA makes and is able to be equally nimble and flexible and moving quickly.
So on that note, Rick, that the consumer could opt out. What about the jurisdiction?
Yes, the jurisdiction.
Could the city decide that, yeah, we signed up, kind of opposite like how we are with the TUM fees.
Right.
Could the city then opt out?
Absolutely, and that's a good point, and that's one of the clarifying points that we want the ultimate board to decide on. And there's really two ways to go about doing this. So a city can opt in to a CCA, and then let's say for some reason they decide they want to opt out. Well, now a decision has to be made as to whether or not, when the city takes an action to opt out, are they also taking all the residents and businesses in that city with them or not? So that's a decision that has to be made. Some people that we've talked to have said, well, no, when the city opts out, we'll just take all of the municipal facilities that are attached to us with us. And others like the idea of being able to have the city say, we're going to opt out and we're taking everybody with us. It's really a decision that the cities need to make. The only thing with a CCA that would best protect the city is if by chance they opt out, they would make the statement to opt out, but then stay on board until the energy contracts, relatively short term, that have been purchased for them run out, and then therefore their obligation is removed. So I think in a realistic situation, a city could make a determination to opt out, but would probably have to wait for a period of time until those energy contracts are used up before the actual opt-out would occur. And that would be in the best interest of the jurisdiction.
But this will be discussions this next year.
Absolutely.
On all of these.
Yeah, we have a lot of educating to do, a lot of discussion to do, and there's a lot of folks that love this idea, and there's some that hate it. And so we recognize that, and we want to get all sides of this.
I certainly appreciate your time, Rick. Go ahead, Ted.
Rick, you said something there that caught my, so actually, and back to your chart with the different energy sources, Robin asked the question, so what's the thing? So you're actually in the commodities market, these CCAs, so they're buying on futures, correct? This is future supplies, and so they're purchasing on future commodities. So actually the CCA group will be in the commodities market buying energy. Is that what this is?
Yeah, what we'll be doing is you're basically hiring the equivalent of energy brokers to help make those decisions and purchase energy in the market. Yes.
So that's the gamble.
Well, I guess it's a gamble, but at the same time, Edison and other utilities are also making the same gamble. So.
Yeah, right. They just pass it on. So okay, that's what happened. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Kevin?
So, because I'm really familiar with this, to answer Robin's question, there's a concern that it creates a level of bureaucracy that I personally, I don't see, because I like local control. You're going to be meeting with Eastville, right?
We have at the council level, but we'll go down to the lower.
I mean, I like the idea of regions actually connecting and holding together, but it's one of those things we have to look at. There's a lot of misinformation out there about these things. I mean, tons. But I like the local control aspect. But I think, look at that. Some of my questions are the time limit. We had a lot of discussion about time limits. How to opt out, is it a vote of the people, is it a vote of the council? There's a bunch of questions that have to be answered. You didn't mention that Edison maintains, can you maybe just touch on that a little bit, that the lines and things?
Yes, yeah, I thought I had, but yeah, Edison
May
maintains
explain a
all the
little bit.
distribution and transmission lines, so nothing changes with regard to how the energy is delivered to the property. The only thing that changes is that front-end purchase.
I mean, from what I can see, and I'm very pleased with the RCA and I'm very pleased with WRCOG and some of the things that we're doing and the way it brings so much information to one spot. I'd really like to move forward and just really discuss this. I think it's got some incredible possibilities. It could save people a lot of money. So I'm actually pretty excited about it.
We are too, we concur.
Quick question. With that being said, what is the status of the JPA documents that addresses all of this question?
Yeah, the question is, what's the status of the GPA document that addresses this? We purposely created a very vague document, only because the question came up so much, which is how are we going to govern, how are we going to govern? And so the conclusion was it's a JPA. And so we basically took a stripped down boilerplate version of a JPA to say this is it. It's going to be a separate agency. It's going to be comprised of you, of local elected officials. You'll make the decisions. The caveat being is it was purposely left vague as a template document because we at WRCOG didn't think it was appropriate for us to tie a future board that we do not administer to rules. And so it's up to the future JPA to decide how they want to fill in the blanks and answer some of the questions along the lines of what the mayor asked.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you so much.
And Chris is going to come up next. Chris Gray, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm Chris Gray, the Director of Transportation with the West Riverside Council of Governments. I'm here to talk to you about the TUMP Nexus study, and I believe you have an item later on the agenda for a reading of the first reading of the TUMP ordinance. The TUMP program is, as you may or may not be aware, is a regional program that's been around since the early 2000s. What happened was there was a recognition, and there may have been a few lawsuits thrown in the mix, that there's a need to fund regional infrastructure. And finding an interchange, a bridge, many of the projects we have in this county are very difficult for a single city to do. So the county and all the cities in Western Riverside County got together, formed the TUMP program, and it's intended to be a supplemental funding source to supplement state funding, local funding, other funding sources, and it's money collected on development, which goes towards infrastructure projects. So far, we've collected about $700 million in revenue. $400 million of that's gone directly into construction, which has resulted in about $1 billion of total projects. What many of our agencies do is they take the money and sometimes it's a match for a federal grant they're getting or state and federal funding or money they're getting from RCTC or the county. And it's also conditioned to receive your Measure A funding. WRCOG's job within the TUMP is pretty simple. We're the administrator. We don't build anything as much as I'd love to do a shovel. I don't. We leave that in the hands of the city and the counties. But you guys are really on the front lines of TUMP. You're calculating the fee, you're collecting the fee, you're coming to us and telling us what projects you want funded. You're actually constructing the projects, and you, as your neighbors, come together, as Mr. Bash said, in a regional setting. So you and Eastvale and Europa Valley and Norco and Riverside, which is your zone, come together and decide how to prioritize projects. What the Nexus study does is it sets the maximum fees allowed for a defined list of projects. That was adopted back in July 10th, 2017. You may have questions on the process. We went through a multi-year process to get there. We actually got some letters of support from developers. We were done with the Nexus study, and then the SB1, SB132 was passed. The Nexus study was revised. We also had outreach meetings with jurisdictions, executive committee members, and others. So here's the TUMP schedule. There's a couple things I want to point out. The executive committee, at the request of our city managers, instituted a $3 square foot reduction in the fee on retail uses. The current fee, the previous fee was $10.49. That was reduced to $7.50. It's intended to be an incentive to retail development. We've also agreed to do the executive committee directed that there be a 2-year phase-in on any increase in single family, and the rest of the fees are implemented. They're very modest changes. The multifamily actually goes down a couple of percentage points. But the primary focus of our executive committee was they wanted to phase in the residential fee and reduce the retail fee. So what we're asking you is to adopt the TUMF ordinance. The TUMF is the implementation mechanism, and so that's why we have an agenda item later on. And as part of the process to move us forward, we're going to be meeting with each of our jurisdictions, including your staff, to talk about the status of your projects. And so what I want to talk about specifically is there's a variety of projects that you have funded that are eligible for funding the TUMF network. The most important one we think in the near term is the Hammer Avenue Road. The city has received a grant to do the Hammer Avenue Bridge, and then you subsequently received some additional funding from the state. Prior to that, we had dedicated some money in the TUMF program, about $6 million for the bridge. And staff's recommendation is to take that money and put it into the Hammer Avenue roadway project, because if you're going to build a nice new bridge, you should have a nice new road to go along with the bridge. And so we're going to be meeting with our cities later this year to finalize that recommendation. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And we just want to appreciate all the work from your staff, Chad, Andy, and others at your city who work with us on a regular basis. And we're happy to have the city of Norco in the TUMF program and look forward to building some nice new roads for you.
Thank you, Chris.
Mayor, excuse me, I have a member of the public that would like to ask a question on this presentation.
Okay. Does council have any questions for Chris?
Happy to answer any questions.
You got off easy momentarily. Stand by, and we'll entertain one question from the audience. Cheryl?
Lou Balsa.
Good evening, Lou.
Good evening, gents and lady. Did we have a program like this years ago where we purchased different utilities from other than the main suppliers?
I can't.
Wasn't it?
I can't
Was it
recall.
electric? I thought we had the option to purchase electricity from different suppliers years ago.
Not that I recall anything. Kevin? Brian?
Was it a different utility?
Phone service.
It was more involved than that. I thought it was similar to this program where electricity was provided by different venues. And
We've been supplied by Edison since 1923, 24, 25. Literally, the first lines were put in 26. So
I wonder if that ties back to our old community services, when we had the community services.
I've only been here since '77, so.
Yeah.
Talking about the Enron deal.
What was that?
The Enron deal?
Enron, what was that involved?
community services went under in has 71.
Yeah. Yeah, not
Well,
that
it's
we
been
can
since
recall.
I've lived here. We were getting some kind of a utility from other than the usual source. I thought it was electric, it might have been gas, I'm not sure.
Well,
It really
yeah.
sounds familiar to me, this type of an operation.
Well, we can do a little research on the history of it. Nothing comes to mind for me, and other than maybe our community services way back when.
Well, maybe it's just my CRS kicking in.
That OA is catching up on all of us.
All right, well, thank you.
Lou. Rick, Chris, appreciate it so much. And I know we'll be meeting again soon. Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Okay, city council business items, communications, reports on regional boards. Erwin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I only have one report tonight from Vector because RCTC and RTA have been on vacation this month. But everybody got excited last week when the notice come out that they found a one West Nile mosquito on the Navy base. And for everybody's information, Vector is here in Norco every day of the week. They're in Eastvale every day of the week. They work along the river. They have several trouts set out in the area. They trout